What if your rights change this week and you don't even realize it? Because while most of us are just trying to get through the first week of November, skimming headlines while juggling real life, 3 major things are happening that could reshape how power works in this country. And none of them are getting the attention they probably should. Let's start in Virginia. On Tuesday, voters there will elect a new governor, Abigail Spanberger for the Democrats, Winsome Earl Sears for the Republicans. And while this might look like just another state race, Virginia's elections often ripple far beyond its borders. It's a swing state, a hinge point, as November often is. And its governors don't just manage traffic and budgets. They influence how schools handle free speech, how protest permits are issued, what reproductive rights or gun laws look like. And in a national moment like this, the tone a governor sets can reverberate for years. And now let's head to Texas. On the same day, they'll hold the same election, but it's a different kind of power shift. Voters there are deciding on a crazy 17 constitutional amendments. 17! And these aren't small tweaks. Some would tighten bail rules, some would change who oversees judges, and one would add sweeping language about parental rights, which sounds simple but could reshape how schools and healthcare work for kids. And here's the thing. Constitutional amendments aren't like regular laws. That's what makes this so crazy. You can't just elect someone new next year and reverse them. They're built to last. So what gets written now stays. And then on Wednesday, the U.S. Supreme Court takes up a case that could quietly redraw the balance of power between Congress and the president, if Congress has any power anymore. It's about a law called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. We've talked about IEEPA here and on my YouTube and on my Patreon. It was originally passed in the 1970s, and it lets the president act when there's a foreign threat to national security. And it's mostly used for sanctions or tech restrictions, maybe financial controls. But this case is asking whether that law also lets the president impose tariffs without going through Congress. And that's a very big deal, because tariffs, taxes on imports, have always been Congress's job. It's right there in Article 1, the first one of the Constitution. If the court says yes, it would expand emergency powers into economic territory that's never been touched before. And once that door opens, it's hard to close again. So when you step back, these 3 things, Virginia's election, Texas's amendments, and the Supreme Court case, they all raise the same question. Who decides? Because the founders didn't design a government where one person or one office holds all of the levers. They split power. They built friction into the system on purpose. As Madison warned, ambition must be made to counteract ambition. But even the best designs fail. At least they do if we stop paying attention. If we don't vote, if we don't read the fine print, if we don't track the rulings that shift the foundation we all stand on. So here's your civic watch list for this week. If you're in Virginia, Texas, also New Jersey, vote. If you care about how much power the president has, watch the IEEPA case. Because it's not just about trade, it's about whether Congress still matters when it's inconvenient. And if none of this is happening where you live, don't just tune out. These are test cases. What happens in one place often gets copied in another, and then another, and then another. So ask yourself, what's being decided while we're distracted? And more importantly, who's holding the decision pen?